Antoine is going to be crowned your WOR Season 10 champion.
And history's been made. Ballina, the first WOR PS4 champion. What a championship! What a season! Absolutely phenomenal!
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to World Online Racing for round 3 here of Season 11 on the PlayStation tier. Gamer has won the first 2 races of the season. Can anyone stop him? Making it a hat-trick at the Shanghai International Circuit. It is time for the Chinese Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Joining me in the commentary box is Sam Thompson. Sam, how are you doing?
Good evening, Luke. Good evening, everybody. And yes, welcome to China. It's not exactly a fan favourite, is it, for anyone of these drivers? I wouldn't have thought. In fact, most of the stuff we've heard about China hasn't been particularly positive. However, at the end of the day, that could be good news for us, because obviously these drivers, it does suggest that the track is quite difficult for them, and they're not enjoying it, which could mean that we could be in for a bit of a chaotic, exciting race ahead. So I'm feeling quite positive about this one, and China isn't one of those tracks where the weather is usually the same, so we could be seeing a little bit of weather here this evening.
Yeah, definitely could get some changeable conditions, could always get that safety car, and who knows what else could happen in this race. Last time out, it was Gamer who took a fairly straightforward victory. Seemed to have plenty of pace after getting a fantastic start, beating Nico off the line. Lars finished in second place after getting his 3-second time penalty removed, and it was Brock who claimed his first podium of the season. And the upshot of that is Gamer now has a 20-point lead in the championship, 50 points compared to 30 for Lars. Brock is third on 21. Suku has 18 at the moment from his second in Bahrain. He is fourth. Davidek rounds out the top 5 with 15. And no surprise with how well the game has been doing, that Alpha Tauri lead the Constructors' Championship by 11 points over the Williams team. There were a few drivers getting pretty close for comfort last time out, especially around the midfield, trying different things on the strategy, and that's normally something that we've seen on the China track before. Quite often drivers do like to try something different and try that alternate strat.
Oh, let's not talk about alternative strat in China. It's probably one of the more predictable things you'll see, and particularly with less people here tonight compared to usual. We haven't got 20 drivers here. We've only got 15 here tonight, and again, I suggested it wasn't really a fan favourite or a driver favourite, and it kind of suggests this is the case by the numbers. However, of course, we'll see like people go for the alternative strategy. It is one of the most obvious tracks to have it at. Last game, of course, many people had it. Quite often, people would just challenge for that P11 spot, and then others would go for the top 10, but usually the winners would come from outside the top 10. So for tonight, it could be a very interesting one in terms of driver's strategy, whether they're going to go full out or whether they're going to just settle for that P11 place, because obviously if you do go P11, you're putting yourself at a bit of a risk, since the drivers ahead may tend to be a bit slower than you, depending on which driver we are talking about. So it could be a very interesting choice of tyres for everyone.
Yeah, certainly. We might see a few things getting mixed up. Jensen and Lars have gone out on the mediums for now. Lars probably, well, his championship position says he has been the most consistent driver apart from Game. A bit unlucky with that penalty last time around, but he did get it removed to get his first podium of the season and showed some good pace in the first race. Let's not forget, before he had a collision towards the end, he was racing with the Wizard Game Attack. In the last couple of races, he's back to what we know best, back to Lars, as he's now actually with the World Online Racing esports team. Jensen is another driver that's gone on a set of the medium tyres. Showed fantastic pace, you might remember, in the pre-season race at the Spanish Grand Prix in mixed conditions. I don't know if we are going to get mixed conditions here, but it is definitely very overcast for qualifying. Yet to finish a race, though. But let's see what he can do around the Shanghai International Circuit. 16 corners, 5.451 kilometres, made its debut in the same season as the Bahrain Grand Prix 2004, as we now head towards this long right-hander of Turn 1, the Shang shape of the circuit after the Chinese character, of course, and this Turn 1 and 2 really just start killing the tyres downhill into turn number 3. Be very careful on the throttle through here, especially once the tyres are getting worn. You can see there Jensen getting a bit of a snap on the car. He comes through turn 5 into turn 6, where Daniel Ricciardo pulled off that brilliant overtake on Valtteri Bottas in the 2018 race. Now coming out of turn 6 in towards the second sector of the lap. And this is where you really need some good downforce on the car. Good high-speed performance as you come through 7 and 8. Then medium tyres just not quite giving Jensen the grip he needs at that part of the circuit. Now into the double left-hander of 9 and 10. Get a nice good exit through here. We're not too far away from the final sector of the circuit into turn 11, a corner that is absolutely crucial that you get right. It is a slight overtaking opportunity, but you need to be careful. Make sure you're within a second of the car in front there. As you now come through turn 12 and 13, those mediums are awful at this moment in time, looking like he's got no grip whatsoever as he heads out onto the long back straight here at the Chinese Grand Prix. This is where you'll see the majority of the overtaking happening. DRS open on the Alpine, of course, one of 2 DRS zones, this and the pit straight, then heavy braking into the hairpin. Nice and clean from Jensen there, barely even a lock-up on his front right tyre. Suggests he's got that car not working too bad under the brakes at the moment. Through the final corner, he heads towards the finish line, and for the Alpine, it is going to be a 1:32.432. We will expect to see quite a few drivers beating that, I imagine. Didn't look like the cleanest lap from Jensen.
Yeah, it didn't look like the cleanest lap, particularly through that second spiral corners onto that long back straight. All over the place the car was. Looked like he was about to lose it 2 or 3 times there. So in terms of the traction, it doesn't look very good for the medium tyres. But expect that to be beaten very soon, as a bunch of drivers are coming towards the end of their lap. This one isn't an easy one though, because there's a lot of people who have shown that it's easy to invalidate, particularly that last corner can be quite tricky to get it completely right. So a lot of drivers will struggle, as some of the soft tyre drivers are coming in now. You're looking at mid-31s here at the moment. So I don't exactly know where people's minds are at. Quite hard to say. Well, for Gamer, it looks like it's full send really for a 30.8, and for Kryptonite as well. It could be full send for both of those 2 drivers this evening.
Yeah, certainly. Lars, fastest driver on the mediums, though, with a 1:32.0, but a whopping 1.2 seconds off of Gamer at this moment in time. Alpha Tauri starting to look very good. Yet to have a pole position, though, has Gamer. Suku got pole in the first race and finished second. Perhaps could have won it if he hadn't have had that collision with one of the Aston Martins. Can't quite remember which one it was now. And of course, last time Aston Martin had a bit of a disastrous race. A great qualifying. Nico on pole, Thomas in towards the front of the grid. 8th and 12th, all that they can manage, and Nico sort of holding the fort on his own tonight. We are on board with one of the reserve drivers, Sossi, in the Alfa Romeo. He's just coming around the final couple of corners now, heading onto the pit straight. It is a DRS zone, but you don't see too many overtaking moves into turn 1. Normally, if a driver does try it, they don't really get completed until turn 4, perhaps even all the way through 5 and 6.
Yeah, turn 1 is... It's not usual you get overtakes there, but when you do, they do look quite spectacular, because obviously it's a medium sort of speed corner. You go into that corner, it's very long, it's very daunting as well. And through those corners, you can see a lot of side-by-side battling usually. But of course, that turn 6 is really the first proper opportunity where a realistic proper overtake can be done. And then obviously, then you're going to have to wait for about half a lap, and then obviously your next overtake is obviously that long straight after the second spiral, obviously down to the hairpin there. So yeah, not many overtaking opportunities, but a lot of these guys do get creative. We do know that from league racing. It's not exactly like real life. These guys do get creative. Sometimes they show a nothing to lose sort of attitude. So expect to see a few surprises potentially from drivers, a few surprise moves really from drivers, and whether we'll see the same sort of, the same sort of tenacity to get past drivers as what we do see in league racing quite normally.
Yeah, certainly. Suku's gone in just behind his teammate on a second run on that set of the medium tyres. He does a 1:32.333, so It looks as though those on the mediums might have to rely on invalidations from other cars or mistakes from other cars failing to set a lap time if they want to get into the top 10. Doesn't really look at the early stages with the gaps as if they'll have quite the pace to manage to do it on these mediums, so we'll have to see what the drivers do later on. We are on board then with Cohen, part of the Shazoo team, seeing what he can do around this circuit, reserving in the Aston Martin. We have got a few reserve drivers tonight, perhaps, trying to put on a bit of a show and show that if a full-time seat does become available, they definitely deserve it. So we'll see what Cohen can do for his first run in this session, coming through that long banked turns number 12 and 13. You do see a lot of drivers get it wrong through there. We saw Jensen get very close, and I imagine if it gets wet in the race, we're not sure what the weather's going to do, but if it does get wet, that corner can definitely cause a few problems.
Yeah, but obviously a lot of these drivers very experienced. Kuhn, one of them, of course, very experienced in that Aston Martin. He's very well known in this community now as well. Been here for about 2 or 3 games, and there we go. He's actually quicker than Gamer, and of course that could be track evolution, but also it could be just the pace of the Aston Martin out in front, which has put in a stellar lap time to start up his first one, and a bunch of others as well is just going to be coming out very soon. Jensen, I think, is the one next to start his lap, but for Kuhn, it's a very, very good start to his qualifying, his first qualifying, of course. And for others, it's just a catch-up game. And yeah, like I said, there's been a bit of a mixed bag really, where drivers thinking about strategy, whether they're going for outside that top 10 or inside the top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, certainly, and I think what it could be for Cohen, maybe the track looks as though it has got a bit hotter. The sun has broken through the clouds here in Shanghai. That might have helped those on the mediums, and perhaps maybe actually hinders those on a set of the soft tyres. They might start to just wear a bit too much towards the end of the lap and overheat. Jensen looks as though he's got a very oversteery car here, which might give him that bit of extra pace if he can tame it. He's 4 tenths up on his personal best through Sector 1 again, actually. At this low-speed stuff, he seems to be struggling with oversteer, and then for the high-speed stuff, struggling with understeer at this moment in time. Again running wide through turn number 7, compromising his line into turn 8. Coming through the second sector point, he's still 8 tenths up on his personal best, so 4 tenths in sector 1, 4 in sector 2. He finds another 4 tenths in the final sector. That would put him onto a 131 flat. Well, 131.2, sorry. Put him in and around where Kryptonite is at this moment in time. We have got a yellow flag. That is one of the Red Bulls, I believe, who's been off for a spin. That's Dan Spreen making a mistake coming through turns number 7 and 8. Yet to score any points this season, has finished 11th, just outside in both of the races. Back with the Alpine, though, of Jensen, seeing what he can do. Alpine have got 15 points at the moment, courtesy of Davidek, who I don't believe is here tonight. Jensen heads towards the line, 130.963, but it was invalidated, so found about 1.5 seconds, I should say, on that set of the soft tyres. That will give hope for drivers like Lars, who has actually invalidated his lap. I was about to say, if he could keep it clean, you'd maybe expect to see Lars challenging for the top.
Yeah, there seems to be a huge difference between the softs and the mediums, of course. Those near the front, and compared to the fastest medium runner currently, which I believe is Simon at the moment, which is a 31.9. It's good promise for him and Lars, of course, who are not exactly on the they've not been on the quickest tyres so far, and you know, it has shown from Jensen there's a lot of time to gain, but we do have to take a pinch of salt a little bit with Jensen, because we do know you know, the amount of traction he was getting through certain corners, and we didn't exactly see what the other medium tyre runners would have been doing through there. So we've got to take it with a pinch of salt that Jensen's medium lap time wasn't exactly the best. However, of course, it does still give that sort of hope for drivers, of course, such as Lars and Simon, who are looking relatively quick on those mediums so far and looking to possibly replicate that on the softs.
Yeah, certainly. We've got a few drivers now coming towards the end of the lap. Gamer's just coming onto the long pit straight. Yellow flags as various cars are getting out of the way. Andrea has left the session. Hopefully, he'll be able to get himself back in. Here comes Kryptonite then. He's in a 4th position at this moment in time. Let's see what he can do as he heads into the hairpin there. Just hopping over that curve, cutting it pretty much perfectly. You wouldn't want to take too much more than that. Unsettle the car or risk invalidating your lap time through the final corner. And that is one we'll see a lot of penalties gained in the race through that final part of the circuit. Gamer heads towards the line. Does improve slightly, but not enough to beat Cohen. That that final corner is going to cause problems in the race. It's probably where you'll see the majority of the penalties, maybe as well, coming through turn 10.
Yeah, didn't seem like much of an improvement there from Gamer. I'm wondering if perhaps it wasn't a full load that he could be able to deliver there, because the track evolution I would have assumed the track evolution would be quite big around this track. So probably not the best of lap times there from Gamer. Perhaps a small mistake from somewhere. He did obviously improve, but just not enough to beat Cohen at the front. I'm just watching Suku right now. I think he's on his soft lap. And he is obviously coming towards the end of it right now, so he's going to be the one to watch really, because he is a driver that has looked quite quick in the qualifying stages. As he goes a bit wide there out the exit of the corner. I don't think that was really intentional, but for him, it looked like it could be a strong lap. Still, let's see what he does when he comes to the line. As a 31.2, he lost a lot of time though, I reckon, throughout that chicane. So for Suku, it's up to P5 for him. He's just gone down to P6 because there goes Lars, and for sure I would have thought Lars would have wanted to be starting on those soft tyres since they're 2 laps old. So I'm not too sure about the decision there from Lars, whether that was the right decision or whether he can beat that lap time again to make sure he's in a bit more of a secure position.
Yeah, that surprised me as well that he's gone for a second lap on the set of softs. We saw Suku do it earlier on a set of mediums. That makes a bit more sense. I think you'll want to be starting on fresh softs indeed, although Gamer did something similar at Bahrain, I believe. Started on a 2-lap old set of soft tyres, and he got the victory there, of course, even though he admitted that wasn't quite how he thought it was going to work out for him. On board then with Cohen, just heading down the back straight. Can he improve that gap a tiny bit more? This could well be, but I'm pretty sure probably will end up being his final one in qualifying. He's going to have to nip round pretty sharpish on his in-lap if he wants to get another one done. He'll have, massive slide coming through that hairpin there, coming through turn number 14, so that might be it for his run. And yeah, dives it back into the pits. Might not be the worst thing in the world, that, because he should be able to head out again and get another run done in this session. Dan Spreen's on his hot lap at this moment in time, and we've got Line Violet trying to improve on a set of the medium tyres. Only 2 attempts down through the first sector.
Yeah, I don't look like he's going to be improving. Well, mind you, I say that. He could have been one of those drivers that basically stopped on the line or something. That could be what happened potentially, but it does look like it was a fairly competitive lap on the soft tyres. So it's interesting for Line Violet there. I was not really expecting that. And if he does beat his lap time, then fair play. Because he hasn't looked, I'm not going to be rude, but he hasn't looked exactly quick, of course, this season so far. He hasn't scored many points. I don't even think he scored any points at all, if I could just check quickly. And no, he hasn't scored any points at all as of yet. He has done the 2 races, and yeah, he's just backed out just now. So not sure what the Alfa Romeo is doing. Maybe he may have a tiny bit of time to get back in and out again, or whether he's going for another run. But yeah, time will only tell for Line Violet, or whether he's absolutely screwed this one.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Very surprised indeed. 1:31.6. Judging by that lap time, he's soft. Well, judging by that, to beat that on a set of mediums, he's outright soft pace. It'd have to be low 1:30s, and it doesn't look like we are going to see a time anywhere near that in this session. Dan Spreen gets his first one done on the Red World soft tyres. He goes up into 9th place at this moment in time. So you can see there the entire top 10 have done their best lap on a set of the soft tyres, and I would expect it to stay that way. There's a bit of a last-minute reserve driver here, and his green helmet sort of goes well with a Haas. Similar colour helmet to Michael Schumacher, but of course that's the game giving him that helmet, because that's what the game does when you come into the reserve. I knew it looked too familiar. It is Will LG heading onto the back straight. Let's see what he can do in that Haas car. DRS open as you head down this long straight here, and ideally, there's parts of this track you want a lot of downforce on that car, but if you do that, you're just going to be a sitting duck on the way down to the hairpin.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, obviously, if you're in the lead car and everything, with the new changes to the game and stuff like that, you lose all your ERS, you're a sitting duck. DRS, obviously, the people behind you, they're right behind you. There's no way you're keeping that position. So definitely on the straight, if you lose your way out of DRS, or if you're low on ERS for that matter, you could be absolutely screwed in this one. And it's going to be tricky for all the drivers, I reckon, to keep with each other, because we do know that these drivers and everything, they are relatively close, but one small mistake, which this track seems to be one where drivers are prone to doing, I do know a lot of drivers can find all these mistakes around this track, and we've already seen it so far in qualifying. People drop in the rear end a little bit and speaking about using the rear end, there goes Will G off in it to the gravel. He's kept it going, of course, since the game I don't think simulates you getting beached in the gravel, which could be an interesting addition, I can't lie, but it will also be a very frustrating one as Jensen out of nowhere has taken top spot. So we said about the soft tyres coming into their play compared to the mediums. Well, for Jensen, they most certainly looking very, very strong.
Yeah, fantastic lap there from Jensen. Gets himself up into P1, 10th quicker than Cohen. We've seen Enzo Ricciardo get himself into that top 10 on a 131.282. Here we are on board with Kryptonite, just over half a tenth up, coming through Sector 2 at the moment. So he could challenge Rudy with this lap time, but those top 4 drivers are just looking pretty safe at the moment. They're looking a bit far away from everyone else. We'll see whether that's, of course, is the same thing in the race. Dan Stream retires from the session in the pit lane. He's 11th at the moment. Might drop down more as we see Will, Nico, and I don't think, has Andrea got out back on circuit? It looks like he has, actually. So good job for Andrea that he is back out, so he might still have time to set a lap time. Checkered flag is out then. Qualifying is over. Everyone on their final laps, and the first one to finish a lap as Will comes into the pits is going to be Kryptonite. Can he get ahead of Rudy? No, he cannot. Lost a bit of time then in the final sector. He stays in 6th place for now. That's Will who's coming to the pits. We'll see who else is on the lap. We'll see what Andrea's doing in the McLaren then. Can he manage to sneak himself up into the top 10? Coming through the final hairpin. He's got one of the, I believe that is a, one of these days I'll be able to tell the difference between a Red Bull and a Williams on this game. I think it is a Red Bull of Rudy heading towards the line. He stays in 5th place. Andrea comes towards the line. Yeah, in the end, invalidated his lap, so not setting a time whatsoever. I think Cohen's gone very wide out of the final hairpin. Is this going to be enough for the reserve driver to get himself on pole position on his first appearance here in WOR? Yes, it is, a 1:30.463. Absolutely brilliant lap time from him. Marcus Towler jumps up into 6th place. Nico wisely slows down towards the line, so he's going to stay in 13th place. Let's see what CRG Gamer can do. Slides his way through the final corner. It looks spectacular. Isn't fast though. He ends up in 3rd position. Lars is improving. He might be able to. If he gets his final corner right, he could still challenge for pole position here. What can Lars do? Gets himself up into 3rd place. Slots between Jensen and Gamer. I think that is pretty much it. Line Violet's coming around the final corner now. He's not on a fast lap. So that is it then for this qualifying session. And we've got our 3rd different pole sitter of the season. And it's the first time we've had a reserve on pole position on his debut. It is Cohen.
That is a very smashing lap from Cohen right there. Like, you couldn't have asked for a better lap time. He's like 2 tenths clear from his nearest rival in Jensen. But obviously, of course, to do it in qualifying and do it at the race is 2 completely different things. But let's not take it away from him. Almost 2 tenths clear of Jensen. And of course, much higher than what Gamer's obviously at as well. Almost 4 tenths quicker than the championship leader. So maybe Gamer made a mistake on his lap. I'm not too sure. Or maybe he just didn't really fancy that final lap in the end. I'm not too sure. But wow, what a smashing lap there from Cohen. And for a reserve and everything on his debut as well. And I believe he did tell me yesterday this will be his 2nd league race. What a brilliant show he's put on here. Looking very good.
Yeah, not a bad lap whatsoever from him. He goes fastest. Jensen 2nd. Lars, is in 3rd place. Gamer in 4th. Definitely looks as though he made a mistake on his final lap, so might have a bit more pace in hand. Suku, Rudy, Marcus Towler, Kryptonite, Enzo Ricciardo and Line Violet round out the top 10. Dan Spreen, we're able to start on a fresh set of tyres as well. Simon, Nico, Sossi, Will, LG and Andrea, both the final 2 drivers, failing to set a lap time, so they'll have plenty of fresh tyres left. It does look like a few drivers, Simon especially, setting his fastest lap on the mediums. Nico slowed down towards the end, and I think Will gave up on his fast lap. It looks like they've fully put all their eggs in the basket of the alternate strategy, trying to see what they can do in the early stages of this race pack. Well, trying to see what they can do later on. In the early stages, it's going to be about hanging onto the car in front.
I mean, for Will G, of course, it was just simply because he couldn't get a lap time in because he came in last minute. But obviously, of course, you know, he didn't set his proper lap time, and luckily he wasn't in the barriers, but unfortunate for him, so we didn't really get to see exactly where his pace was at. But obviously we do know he's a very quick driver, is Will G, and, you know, a lot of them outside the top 10 are, and, you know, we said about this beforehand. about the alternate strategy being favoured by some drivers, but a lot of drivers actually, surprisingly, in my opinion, decide just go for full glory really and get themselves into the top 10 and see what they can get. And the top 4 in particular look very quick, and in the race and everything, we'll have to see what they'll do and whether this alternate strategy will be the best thing to be on, because we do have to remember safety cars do exist.
Yeah, safety cars do happen. Safety cars breed safety cars, of course. We've already talked about the nature of turn 1, that ever-tightening radius can just catch cars out. Sometimes if you're on the outside at turn 1, you could easily find yourself getting sucked towards that runoff area. Thankfully, it is tarmac. There's no gravel, and there is a barrier a bit further there to catch you out, but I'd be very surprised if you see a driver ending up all the way in that barrier around the Shanghai International Circuit. First used in 2004, was traditionally at the end of the season before being switched to the start of the season for 2009, where Sebastian Vettel took Red Bull's first ever victory in Formula 1. 16 corners, 2 DRS zones could provide a decent amount of overtaking action as we see what tyres everyone is on. This says a lot about how much of a tyre killer this circuit is. It's very rare that the majority of the top 10 start on a set of the hard tyres.
Yeah, I think those drivers are doing a hard to medium strategy, but I think if I go back to the PC tier earlier in their season when they went to China, I believe that they actually did a hard soft strategy, some drivers. So that was quite interesting to see that those drivers could make it. And I know that soft hard can make it this game as well. Well, from PC anyway. I'm not sure if it's the same for PS, because PC does seem to be different on tyre wear compared to PS apparently. But we'll have to wait and see for that one, see how the strategy goes here. But the strategy at this track seems to be very, very different here and very varied. So you could be in for a very interesting one. For those inside the top 10, they may not even be too much of bother, really. For those outside the top 10, it just depends on whether Dan, Spreen, Simon, Nico, and the rest, of course, whether they can stick with the top 10. And, obviously, of course, how powerful those softer tyres are. And, well, for qualifying, the mediums look like they looked horrendous to drive, didn't they? So I wonder exactly how the hards will feel in this race.
Judging by Simon and the fact that he's managed to spin it on the formation lap, the hards don't exactly feel great either. He's, thankfully for him, there is no damage on a formation lap. Otherwise, I think his evening would have been ending extremely prematurely. So we'll see what he can do. He'll be starting 12th on the grid. You've got Sussy and Willow G, the only 2 cars on a set of the medium tyres. They'll almost certainly going for a medium hard strategy, but a safety car round about lap 10, lap 11 could prove to be just the right thing for those 2 drivers. We'll have to wait and see how things are going to go. But it's Cohen on pole position then for this race. The reserve driver on the pole. Jensen alongside him. He's not finished the race either. Lars second in the championship ahead of Gamer, who is first in the championship. Things looking pretty tasty at the front of the grid. And as always, that ever-present danger of what can happen with the alternate strategy. As we are now waiting for the lights to come on here at the Shanghai International Circuit. There we go. Drivers getting ready. Engine notes rising. 5 lights coming on here at Shanghai. On the way then for the Chinese Grand Prix. What are the starts like? It looks like Huan has got an absolutely fantastic start, and it's a bit of a bad one for Jensen. That's going to put him under pressure from Lars, who's going to try and go all the way around the outside at turn number 1 and 2. That, of course, gives him the inside line for 3 and 4, but it's Cohen in the lead of this race. Lars is still fighting side by side with Jensen, who's now going to come under a bit of pressure from CRG Gamer, but Lars has got that position. Jensen in 3rd, Gamer 4th, Suku 5th, Rudy is in 6th, Marcus Towler is in 7th, Kryptonite's absolutely sent it. He's not getting that stopped in a month of Sundays. He turns the car around, surprised he hasn't got any major damage on that car. He's been very lucky indeed. He drops all the way down to 16th position then, but Cohen leading, Lars in 2nd, Jensen 3rd, Gamer in 4th. We'll see, can't see what the gaps are at the moment between those cars on the hard tyres. Willow G though having a fantastic start on those set of mediums.
Yeah, it was the start Cohen would have wanted though, right out in front. It was a great start from Lars as well. I think either that or Jensen didn't exactly get a good getaway from the start, but Gamer as well, keeping himself in P4. I think Suku's moved up a couple positions, hasn't he? So he hasn't. I thought he did. He must have started 5th anyway, but of course, for people at the back like Kryptonite, for example, just a misjudgment of braking or just a bit of desperation may have caused that incident, of course, but a bit of recklessness maybe as well was was the problem of that. But people in the midfield have been moving up and down, unsurprisingly, on those medium and hard tyres. It's a little bit more difficult. There's a little bit more of a difference, perhaps, in the tyre warming for all the guys, and those who have and those who haven't. And also expect people like Will G to be
sorry to interrupt, Sam. Gamer's having a huge slide through turn number 1. Holds onto the car. He just clipped that curb on the inside line. Well held from Sam Corboy, I have got to say. But that could have... that's definitely woken him up, I imagine. And he might need some new underwear to go with some new tyres when it comes to his pit stop. Because that was a massive moment.
Obviously, we don't want to obviously say it because, you know, we know obviously how experienced Mr. Corby is, of course, in league racing. He's been here for a while, of course, but, you know, when you're leading the championship, you can seem to be a little bit complacent. But to be honest with you, probably not a complacency issue. That's just the curbs, of course, being, as many gamers like to call it these days, RNG do the curbs, which is just basically means random. Where sometimes you go on them, it's fine. So other times you go on them, it's not fine. So, you know, I'll probably just put it down to that factor that, you know, it's just unfortunate on the curb. But, yeah, these drivers know what they're doing. And, you know, for Gamer to keep it also in P7 as well, because I've just looked back at it. It was a huge slide as well. So fair play to him. And he's now after Marcus Towler. Marcus did go to the defensive line, but Gamer just had so much more momentum there and just slides past that Haas. But that Haas does come back. And they're going to be still side by side here, but I think Gamer does have the mood nice and settled by him. He's back up to 6th place at the moment.
Yeah, it was a fantastic hold from Gamer there. You can see him just running wide out of the penultimate corner. DRS has been enabled then, so they'll be able to use it on the main straight, well, on the back straight for the first time. And there is a gap appearing now between the top 3 drivers and between this man. Suku in 4th place just doesn't have the pace at this moment in time. He is 2 seconds off of Jensen. Those top 3 still very close together at the moment. This is definitely going to help those guys as they try and get away. As it looks like Gamer has got fantastic pace at this point in the race. Down the inside into turn 6. A lot more successful than his teammate was on that manoeuvre on the first lap of the race. And that is Gamer back into the top 5. He's not let that mistake affect him, as you would expect from a driver who's done as many league races as him. Kryptonite's first man to get himself a time penalty, as Andrea and Dan Screen are battling quite hard at the back of the field. Both on a set of hards, both not had the ideal start to the race. They are in 14th and 15th, as in the lead it is still Cohen, 7 tenths ahead of Lars. Shouldn't really be under any pressure down this back straight with that big of a gap.
Yeah, and I mean, I do expect people like Suku, for example, he's got a bit wide out that corner. It's opened the door for Gamer. Oh my goodness, he's going all over the pumps there. Keeps it just about stable. It should be the overtake done for him with the DRS compared to Suku. And there we go. Nice and easy there. It's not going to be too much fought by, well, it's not really an opportunity to. Suku might be in trouble, though, from the Red Bull behind. Kind of half and half there from Rudy, but he does take the position nice and cleanly. But as I was saying, though, expect to be a few undercuts then potentially from Gamer. He knows, obviously, he's probably unlikely to catch up with the top 3, knowing how good the DRS is this game. He could possibly close into it because he does look like he's absolutely rocking with the momentum through the corners, but obviously on the straight line speed with the DRS disadvantage, which obviously he won't have, it could be a bit different for a race for the AlphaTauri, and he'll probably be thinking of an undercut to close that in, because those soft tyres, they go off very quickly.
Yeah, it looks like Suku, I think, had realised that his tyres have gone off. He's come out of the pit. I think he's had front wing damage at the start of this race that we didn't pick up. He's had a front wing change, certainly. He's now dropped behind Enzo Ricciardo, comes out on a set of the medium tyres, and that might explain why he's so wide coming through turn number 12 and turn number 11, 12, I believe it was. That will explain it, that front wing damage. He's gone for the mediums, as has Enzo Ricciardo. Then nailed on then for a 2-stop strategy, are those cars. And now that game has been released, he's back up into 4th position. He's already got a second ahead of Rudy. He is showing some good pace at the moment. If he can get himself onto the back of those cars ahead, or if he can maybe pull off the undercut like you said, he could still have a chance in this race, as there is a yellow flag, and that is Sussy facing the wrong way around on his mediums. He dropped all the way down to 14 at the back of those who are yet to come into the pits, but it is still coming in the lead of this race. Lars and Jensen just behind him. I don't think it'll be too long before those drivers pit, and then it'll be looking pretty good for Nico, Will LG and Simon as well. These 3 not looking too bad at the moment on their hards, mediums and hards respectively.
Yeah, and Rudy is the first one properly to pit with no, well, for what we know of, no damage there. So he's the first one to properly pit. So it's going to be interesting to see what undercut he can perform. Obviously, he's looking to undercut on CRG Gamer, which obviously will put him up to fourth place in Gamer, down to 5th. For Marcus Towler, of course, he's doing quite fine at the moment, but he's got these hard runners coming at him, and the medium runner, of course, of Will G as well. It's going to be difficult for Marcus Towler because so softs, they will go off around this time now, so it will be about time these hard tire runners will be quicker. So that's exactly what I mean. These softs switch off very, very quickly. So for Marcus Towler at the moment, he's got a bit of a decision to make on track and obviously in the pits as he goes a bit slow through turn 8 there, and that is just exactly, does he pit this lap? That's number one he's got to think about. And number two, should he just let Nico and potentially even Will G, if he could get behind him, just past him, because he doesn't want to waste any time right now.
Yeah, I don't think he's not driving too defensive. It's just at that part of the circuit, it is pretty much single file, and that is costing these drivers on the alternate strategy tons and tons of time. I believe Rudy might have had to have a front wing change as well, because he came out very close to Suku. Those two battling over 14th place. Here comes OP Nico then, trying to get a good result to go with the pace that he has shown so far this season. Down the inside he goes, nearly comes back onto the racing line and nearly ends up crashing in and clashing wheels with Marcus Towler, but he has got that position. He is up into 5th, as we are seeing the first two of the lead trio come into the pits. Cohen and Lars into the pits. Gamer following them in as well. No worries about doing a Lewis Hamilton or a Pastor Maldonado. That gravel track removed now, and the entrance to the pit lane, so they don't have to worry about that. That leaves Jensen in the lead of this race, going a lot longer. That might bode him well at the end of the race, but he's definitely going to come out well behind, you'd imagine, Lars and Cohen, and might even have to watch out for Gamer after the pit stops.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about Jensen's strategy. We obviously saw about Marcus Towler, like, we were talking about how hard his tyres had gone off on the soft tyres. Of course, he's perhaps just thinking whether he could even make hards to the end for lap 5, which I believe you can. But we did see punches come around to the PC race, of course. I think Matthias van Erven was one of them. I can't remember what tyres he was on, whether he was on the mediums or the hards, or even the softs, actually. Because there was a bunch of soft drivers at the end that were also experiencing tyre problems. But, it seems to be a thing around here and everything. It's live or die, really, with the strategy at the moment. And for Jensen, he's definitely going for, obviously, a one-stop. All these guys are going for one-stop. No one wants to do a two-stop in this race. Only Rudy perhaps could be going for that, because I don't think those mediums will make it to the end. And, of course, I believe Dan Spreen and Suku as well. So, interesting strategies for some of them to go on the mediums this early, and should be meaning that there'll be a two-stop race for some of these guys. And for Jensen, he's not even coming in yet. He's going out for another lap. So again, very interesting strategy from the race leader right now.
Yeah, certainly. Cohen did actually get jumped by Lars in the pit stop period, but he's quickly solved that one out. Oh, big slide, big drift, and spins it round, coming round the final hairpin. Cohen sends the car round, and all of a sudden, all Lars' Christmases have come at once. He's got a 2-second lead, net lead in this race, of course, as Line Violet comes into the pits, gets rid of those soft tyres. Things are looking pretty good for Lars in this race, and now Cohen's just got to start paying attention to Gamer. Was that obviously first time Cohen's coming to that corner on anger on that set of the hard tyres? I don't know how much practice he's done on the hard tyres, but on this day in history, first time he's done that, and clearly just caught out by the rear brakes locking that we see happen so often on this game.
Yeah, I think it's just a mixture of those hard tyres as well. They're not exactly up to temperature, so obviously you've got to take it quite cautious on the opening few laps for Cohen, though. He needs to get his head down. Now he needs to get that spin out of the way. He needs to just play a bit of catch up. He obviously knows he's got the pace, because he did catch up to Lars very quickly when he did try to, when he did overtake him originally. But obviously you also got to put in the fact that he was off the racing line as well, which obviously means that he's probably gone on the marbles a little bit, and that's cost him a little bit. But there's a yellow flag and set the 1 on 2. That is Enzo Ricciardo, who I believe has gone round. I believe he's still there, but Lars has actually been held up by LOI Saucy here. So for Cohen, I'm pretty sure this is a must-do really for him to get past this Alfa Romeo. But annoyingly, this Alfa Romeo, I think, no, he doesn't. No one has DRS, but I think that's down to yellow flags. But for Cohen and everything. Well, for Lars, it's frustrating how long it took him to get past that Alfa Romeo. For Cohen, it should be quite an immediate sense to get past this Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, turn 1 would be ideal for him. In fact, that would be even more ideal if Sossi drags it into the pit lane and gets a 3-second time penalty on his way into the pit lane, which is a very interesting one. If I was him, I'd definitely be taking that one to the steward. So he comes into the pits. We see Kryptonite coming as well off the soft tyres, meaning he's still out there. Lone car on the softs at the moment. Jensen, lap number 8. This is, I mean, you can already sort of see that front left tyre's got the graining on that moment as I just try and take the position and the details off. You can just see ever so slightly that little line on the left-hand tyre, that graining that Formula 1 tyres so often have, of course. It's going to be torture now. Nico's gaining about a second a lap on the Alpine. Could all come back to him later on in the race because Gamer, Cohen and Lars did come in quite early for a one-stop strategy.
Yeah, but obviously we know this track for all its flaws, really, isn't it? It's a very tricky track to overtake and get positions made up on this track. So, really, it could be do or die here for Jensen. It just depends on his overtaking ability, whether he can overtake a couple of cars. I believe he'll come out behind Lars, Cohen and Gamer. I believe he'll be able to stay ahead of Marcus Towler. There's a bit of a gap in between, but what it does mean that he may have a bit of free air. But what the bad thing about that is the fact that Gamer has the DRS on Cohen, and Cohen isn't far off Lars's DRS as well. So really for Jensen, he's really gone and gambled with this one, and he's going out again for another lap. So these tyres are going to be absolutely scorching right now. And not only that, this does mean, in my opinion, that Jensen is now putting himself under threat from the Haas of Marcus Towler now, who will be obviously reading that probably, that Jensen still has not pitted, and will be thinking, you know, I better speed up here. I've got an opportunity potentially, because I'm not sure how long the pit lane is on this track, but if it is around 25 seconds, then Jensen's kind of screwing this one over a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. I'm surprised he's gone as this long compared to everyone else. Bad news for Nico. He's disconnected from the session. He did look to be suffering from a bit of a lag when we went on board with him, and then disconnected entirely. So such a shame for him. He was in a good position. Lead car on those hard tyres. So it's now Will LG in second on the mediums, and Simon's the lead car on the hards. We're on board with Gamer. He's got himself back into, you'd imagine, a net podium position then. Net third place at the moment. All over the back of Cohen, who just can't quite get back within 1 second from Lars. And Lars has just really got to try and do, while keeping it clean, he's just got to try and make sure he doesn't let that gap get within a second, because that'll bring Cohen into him, and that'll bring Gamer in as well, and that could really put the Williams driver under pressure. He's kept it clean at the moment, as have the majority of the field. Only Kryptonite and Saucy, the only two drivers with 3-second time penalties at this moment in time, as finally Jensen does come into the pits in the Alpine. That frees Will LG, Simon, Nico's managed to get back in, Andrea, and then Lars, of course, who is leading on that set of the hard tyres that have already come into the pits. This is Gamer. He's really close to the back of that Aston Martin.
Yeah, he's really pushing. Obviously in that lap, it looked like he wanted to overtake Cohen for a long time down that straight. Just didn't have the momentum exactly to do it. And for Jensen, I said about this, he's just come out ahead of Marcus Towler. He's closer to Marcus Towler than he is to Gamer at the moment, unfortunately. So that strategy may have not worked too well for him. But mind you, he's on the medium tyres, which now at Lost Delta is not very good, but he's on the medium tyres, so this could actually be quite good for Jensen, because they will likely probably make that to the end now. So good for him on that one. It just depends on how well they can perform over the hard tyres in the next couple of laps. And for Lars, he's out in front pretty well, but Cohen obviously coming under a bit of pressure from Gamer. But the thing about Lars is he's got so much more ERS than Cohen and Gamer, but it does seem like it's quite easy to save up here. So should be problems with using it a little bit if I was Lars at the moment.
Yeah, there are quite a few heavy braking zones, of course. That helps with the ERS generation, the one at the end of this straight, the one into turn 6 as well. Very interestingly, Maloney saying a fellow soft medium enthusiast. I'm not sure how well it's going to work on the PlayStation, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, but Jensen, he's going to give it his all, and if it does work out, could well be in a fantastic position to win this race, but he's going to find himself just caught in that little DRS train at this moment in time, as Cohen has got to the back of Lars, definitely showing that pace that he showed in qualifying, and of course he's dragged Kryptonite along with him. Suku, now that he's got rid of that damaged front wing, he's looking a lot better. He's up into 9th place. What can he salvage from this race? Can he stretch the mediums long enough to go towards the soft tyres at the end? I think that is what he'll be aiming for, and trying to get the fastest lap, even though you don't get any points for it, but I think points are pretty much all he can hope for at this moment in time. Back towards the lead of this race, so some people that we haven't really spoke about for a bit. Willow G in the lead, Simon now in 2nd place. These two, if anyone's going to make the alternate strategy work, these are the only two that are really in a position to do anything about the lead cars of Lars, Cohen and Gamer, and that applies, of course, if we get a safety car.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened to Nico and Andrea. They've just really both just fell off, haven't they? These front two. Like, Simon and Will are just clear of them at the moment. And for Will, of course, his tyres will start to go off very soon as well. Those mediums don't last too long compared to the hards. In fact, the hards probably are in a better position right now than the mediums. So for Simon and everything, with all that ERS he saved up as well, could be looking at an overtake here. And here we go. He'll look to the inside. Will defend. No, he doesn't. He just decides to let him through. Quite easy. They're going to have to work together really here if they want to have a result at the end of the day. Like, you know, they can't be fighting each other too hard or losing each other too much time, because otherwise it could be race over for both of them. So they know what they're doing. They'll just work with each other for a little bit, I reckon. And then obviously it'll be a full sprint to the end on the soft tyres for them at the end. Well, that's what they'll be looking at anyway.
Yeah, maybe the LG in Wells' name stand for Let's Go, because he didn't really provide much of a fight there to Simon, just quite happily to let him go by. He did have a lot less ERS and knows that these two really do need to work together and not bother too much about getting involved in their own battle at this moment in time. Unsurprisingly, Jensen, on that fresh set of mediums, sets the fastest lap of the race, and it took him approximately 1 lap to get onto the back of this battle for the net lead of the race. Lars, Cohen, Gamer, and now Jensen. Suku not too far behind. Rudy and Marcus Towler were battling on the last lap as well. Marcus Towler dropping behind Rudy, so he's now outside of the points in 11th. Sussy comes into the pits off the set of the hard tyres. I wonder if he's damaged his car again, and whether we'll be seeing him carry on in the race. And that answers that. He takes the retirement option on this occasion. And this, Jensen catching up to these guys and Cohen dragging Gamer along with him, might actually be, in a way, kind of good news for Lars, because he knows that Cohen can't afford to go for a risk. Cohen knows that Gamer can't afford to go for a risky pass, because if either of them do that, they'll leave themselves vulnerable to the cars behind.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, Cohen will still probably try and get past Lars here. He's got the momentum to, for sure, as he's just dragging the car through. I said he had the momentum, but he's just fell behind a little bit more now. I don't think it'll be the case. He will be able to catch up to that Alpine. He's going to be pushing, but that's because Gamer is pushing up behind. He's got the momentum at the moment, but no, there should be an overtake here. A little tap of the rear there. I don't think that's going to cause too much problems. Hopefully not damage for neither, because this could be a very entertaining battle all the way through, but Gamer just has to sit up, behind for a little bit longer, and I guess that's the same for Cohen as well, and also the same for Jensen, who has been using a lot of ERS. Just maybe a little bit of a saving game now for a lap or two for him.
Yeah, if I was Jensen, I'd think about that move into turn 6. Try to use the extra grip of your tyres coming off of this part of the track and send one off the inside into turn 6. Enzo Ricciardo doing what happens a lot on this game. You spin the tyres, you heat them up, and then you start spinning more and more, and it just becomes a vicious circle. He's had a couple of spins on this lap, well off the back of the field. I wonder whether we'll be seeing him coming to the pits anytime soon. All these drivers, of course, they are catching up slightly to those drivers up ahead of him, but Lars, he's 13 seconds behind Simon. It's not like he's really hounding him at this moment in time. You'd imagine when Simon comes into the pits, he's going to come out roundabout probably just ahead of Marcus Towler. Not too many cars in between Simon and Will, and what will be this battle for the lead.
Yeah, but of course DRS trains happened as Cohen's had a little slide there. Maybe a little bit of a touch there from Gamer. He's going to try it here, you know, around this corner. This is not easy because you get onto that bumpy side of the track. It can be quite tricky to keep the car in one piece. And I think for Cohen, he's just about got the DRS, but he goes defensive as Gamer now looking towards the outside there. And Cohen just squeezing that AlphaTauri right to the edge there, just about within the limits, I'd say, of that. But look what that's done to Gamer. Because he hasn't got the position, he's lost the position. Jensen goes through, and with this grip advantage right now for the Alpine, how long is it going to be before he starts pounding on that Aston Martin ahead of him?
Yeah, definitely. Jensen just using that grip, staying smart, taking that later apex to get better traction off the corner. He gets himself up into 7th place, and you can see there almost getting caught out by the line that Kuhn were taking and almost ended up losing his front wing. So we are seeing some more moves happening there. Will and Simon are battling, coming through turn number 6. Simon deciding this time he's going to be the one to let Will LG just take that position. Can't Will? Depends on what strategy he's going for. If Will is trying to make the medium-soft strategy work, he's going to have to stay out for a few more laps, and those mediums will feel absolutely dreadful, and then the softs will feel dreadful at the end of this race, a bit like what we saw happen to Jensen after his pit stop. Obviously, though, Wills will be slightly better on the softs because he'll have lighter fuel, and Jensen will be slightly better on the mediums. It's pretty clear that Simon is going to be on soft tyres at the end, so he is definitely going to be one that is worth watching. Let's go back to this battle, though, for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th at the moment. Cohen's had a bad exit off this corner the last couple of times. That is another yellow flag, and this time it is Kryptonite facing the wrong way round. I'm starting to see why drivers don't enjoy this track. They're finding it, a lot of them are finding it very difficult to keep the car pointed in the right direction, and even a few of our leaders have had the odd hairy moments.
Yeah, and it looks like we may, speaking about the leaders, we may be having a change for the net leader. Cohen just actually sits behind there. Could have put Jensen off a little bit, but no, this track does seem obviously very difficult. We've seen a bunch of drivers, even at the front, be almost out of spin. Obviously, Gamer was very close. Cohen, of course, has had his moments as well. I think Jensen as well has also had moments in qualifying. Here comes Cohen, though. Lars does go defensive, but I think Cohen's just going to have to back out. But, you know, backing out could be a problem, because here comes the Alpine. He's on the inside. Whether he's going to make the move, it's not going to be the case. Jensen still having to sit behind a little bit longer now, a little bit more frustration starting to kick in perhaps for the Alpine driver being stuck behind that Aston Martin, because he knows the lead is right there. He may reckon his tyres can make it to the end and be good enough at the end, but the more he sticks behind this pack, the less time he has to build a gap enough so he can efficiently go on to win this race. So for Jensen, it is a must he gets past Cohen, and he is really, really getting desperate now, it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Synchronized sliding from all those cars as they were coming out turn 6. Lars, Cohen and Jensen all getting a bit too hot on the throttle at the moment. The thing is with Lars, he's not doing a bad job. Let's not forget, he's not got the DRS, and if you look at the ERS, he's at about 85% coming around that corner. Gamer's at a similar level. Cohen and Jensen are down at about 35%, so they can't use those on all these straights because they know Lars has maybe got a tiny bit to defend. Jensen's a lot closer to Cohen this time around than the Aston Martin is to the Williams, but as the DRS comes into effect a bit more, we see that Aston Martin close into the Williams. Nico off in the gravel, coming through the final corner there. That's coming through the hairpin, I should say. That is not ideal for him whatsoever. As there we go then, Lars is in 4th place at the moment, Cohen in 5th, and we see Andrea coming to the pits.
Yeah, we've got a migraine host here, so we could be seeing a little bit of a glitchy lobby, which I'm starting to get a bit frightened about because I think I just saw a McLaren. Yeah, I thought I did. I thought I saw Andrea like in the pits and everything, glitching out everywhere. Ah, that's brilliant for us. So hopefully it doesn't affect this race for the lead, because this race for the lead is quite entertaining, and it would be an interesting disappointment. Well, it would be a big disappointment, should I say, if that were to happen, because this battle for the lead, it's starting to spice up. It is Lars, Cohen, Jensen, and of course Gamer as well. I think Suku would be out for this because it does look like he probably will have to pit again. But these four and everything, any one of these four can win it, and a simple little penalty or a simple slide off the track could completely change everything.
Yeah, it could. Lars looks as though he's just trying to control the race at the moment. Enzo Ricciardo has retired from the race. Is that on the straight? It is indeed. That is a safety car. Will and Simon, you have been saved, my friends. This is exactly what they wanted, a safety car at this point in the race. They've got 11 seconds to Lars. Of course, we might even see Lars and a few of the others coming to the pits here. We'll have to wait and see what they're going to do, but this is ideal for the two cars at the front.
Surely they're going to have to come into the pits, because Will G can obviously come into the pits and put on the softs. Whether the softs will make it to the end, that's yet to see. But more importantly, Simon, he will definitely be able to make it to the end, because he can go on to the medium tyres if he needs to. And I'm interested to see what strategy those two do. And there we go, Lars into the pits, Cohen into the pits. Jensen stays out. So for Jensen, this is positive because Jensen will make it to the end on those mediums. It just depends on whether Simon and particularly Will G, what tyres they'll go on to. Will G the softs, Simon onto the mediums. Will G, that's going to be a bit of a stretch there on the soft tyres, but it just depends on how long this safety car stays out. But he's in P2, so he's in a very prime position right now. So for Lars, Cohen, Nico's come out again, and he's stayed onto the hard tyres. Oh, I'm not too sure about that strategy, I can't lie. He will drop back a couple of places in these next couple of laps, but mediums, they will surely make it to the end. Even Jensen's will make it to the end now. In terms of soft tyres, it's going to be a bit of a lottery whether they'll make it to the end, but more importantly, it'll be a bit of a lottery whether Will G can win this race, because he'll be quick in the first 2 or 3 laps, and then it'll kind of sort of balance out for about a couple of laps before those softs will start to die.
Yeah, definitely demonstrating the new weight loss technique that they've gone for the Haas team. He decides that the Halo's enough protection and you don't need a helmet if you're driving for the Haas. Some may say this season they wouldn't need a helmet anyway with the speeds that they've been driving about, or is that just a tiny bit cruel for the American team? But yeah, Will, he didn't have a choice. He had to go for the soft tyres. He started on a set of the mediums. The only thing that could have saved him if the field was a bit more spaced, he might have been able to come in this lap and put on a set of mediums. That counts as using your 2 different types of tyre. But if he pits now, he'll come out, behind his teammate Marcus Towler, perhaps even behind Line Violet as well. So he's just got to try and survive and hope those soft tyres survive. But it is Jensen in the lead of this race on the older medium tyres. Will second, Simon third, Nico is fourth. I'm not 100% sure he's actually been in the lobby. I think he is still in the lobby. I know he was bugging out a bit once we saw the host migration, similar to Andrea, but they've stayed out on their sets of the hard tyres. Surely they're going to have to come into the pits, so this lap around. The only reason I can see Nico staying out is because he didn't want to do the double stack with Cohen, but I think he's going to lose more time if he does come in. Well, he's going to lose more positions if he comes in this lap. He's going to be down all the way in 12th place.
Yeah, and I think for Nico, it's a bit of a gamble if he does decide to stay out. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he does decide to stay out this time around. And Will G decides to stay out, and there we go, Nico staying out. All of them staying out. So Andrea and Nico seem to have a bit of faith in those hard tyres, that they will be able to hold pace amongst a lot of these medium tyre drivers. And, well, they're all on pressure mediums, despite Kryptonite and Will G. Kryptonite on the new soft tyres, and Will G, of course, also on new soft tyres. So, bit of a dynamic. But yeah, the soft tyres I don't think are the way to go, which is obviously what everyone who had to choose the who didn't have to choose anything but chose the medium tyres. Obviously Will, like we said, he had to choose the soft tyres, otherwise it would have been the hards, and obviously the hards would be worse than the mediums when the mediums could just easily make it to the end at this point. So it's all about what can Will G do with the limited tyre life he will have, because he will be blisteringly quick in the first couple of laps, and then obviously, like I said, things will narrow out, and for him, it just really depends on what gap he has and how well can he defend. Remember, Fernando Alonso in the Hungarian Grand Prix this year, not exactly got the best equipment. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton, much fresher tyre, much better car and everything. Obviously, we have to think about the track, but the defensive skills that Fernando showed in that race won Esteban Ocon the race. Not Fernando of the race, but it was a race-winning defense, I do have to say, from Fernando. But that's what Will G has to really provide if he wants to win this race. He needs to provide that sort of world-class defending right towards the end of this race.
Yeah, Jensen's going to have to do the same. Safety car is in this lap. The red Mercedes peels away. We can, of course, get the Aston Martin now. I'm 99% sure that this is a bug that's been caused by the host migration. It says Nico and Andrea have pitted, but it also says that they've been on those tyres since the start of the race. So I think they might actually, and they're either on both sets of softs, they're either on a set of mediums, or they're on one of each. I think they've both been into the pits and changed their tyres, because otherwise, why is the game saying they've come into the pits? And if the 17 laps is right, they're going to have to pit at some point in the race anyway. So we'll see how they do. But if their pace is pretty decent after the safety car, I think that confirms what situation we are in. But it is Jensen. Can he hold on those older medium tyres? If he's got the entire field behind him on a fresh set of mediums, and know he's trying to get his first points of the season, his first win of the season, if everyone behind him is on much better tyres, he might not even get those first points. He's leaving it quite late to go. It looks like this is going to be one out of the final corner, and he's managed to get quite a good restart there ahead of Will, even though that seemed like a bit of an obvious choice on when to put the hammer down, but he has gone for it. Will stays in second, Simon in third, Nico. He's definitely not on a set of hard tyres with how much grip he's showing here. He's going to try and get one down the inside of Simon. There's contact between the two of them, and that is never really going to work that late in the corner. He goes all the way round. He's down into 10th place. Suku, I think, has had a similar incident. He's in 13th with front wing damage as well, so that's another front wing change he's going to need in this race. Look how close Will is to Jensen, and that little incident has just allowed these top two to break away slightly.
Yeah, Jensen got a beautiful start compared to Will G. Will, obviously, he looked like he got the start on Jensen as well, but he just kind of misjudged when Jensen went. So Will just obviously broke a little bit. And for Jensen, he had just decided to go straight after that. So he nailed that restart there, but I don't think it's going to be enough. This soft tyre runner of Will G, just look at the grip he's got through the corners. He sets himself up nicely for the exit this corner. It is P1 for the Haas driver out of it, so he has got a huge chance in this race. He's going to have to go wide there. That's possibly a warning, but he is using all the ERS in the world compared to Jensen, who's not using any of it. But Jensen's not even going to fight. That's unsurprising, of course. He knows that it's inevitable. Will would go by, and it's just better just to sit behind. What is not better to sit behind is Simon, as Lars gets by Simon there. So Simon has lost out. He's lost out 2 places there, because there goes Cohen as well.
I don't know if that was a wise decision from Jensen. I'd have maybe tried to fight that a bit more next time around. Let him by, because you'll probably stay within a second as they come around for the DRS. But yeah, he could easily lose a second to Will LG here. And then all of a sudden, Will's not looking too so bad. He can control the pace of this race and doesn't have to worry as much about the tyres going off because he knows he's not got anyone right underneath his rear wing. But Will leads, then Jensen in second, Lars is in third, Cohen fourth, Simon in fifth, Andrea sixth. Gamer actually lost out quite a bit in all of that. He's now down in 7th place at this moment in time. Marcus Towler's got Nico all over the back of him, and this pace from Andrea and Nico definitely says they are not on a set of the hard tyres. I imagine it will be a set of mediums, as they did pit before the safety car. Kryptonite, now the only one left in this race with a penalty, very close to the back of Line Violet. He knows he's got to try and make some moves on this set of these soft tyres as well. Rudy's been into the pits to try and fix his front wing, not sure quite where he's got damage for. And this is the problem with Jensen. He hasn't thought that move from Will, as Gamer now gets ahead of Andrea. He's up into 6th place, and already Will's got a 1.3 second gap.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying on the soft tyres. This is important now for Lars. If Lars wants to win this race, he's really got to try and catch up to Jensen. It hasn't helped because there's no DRS at the moment. It looked like I thought he was going to activate it, but he hasn't got DRS because obviously they've just come out of a safety car, so he's got to wait a little longer, has Lars, which is just really good for Will G because he can just really extend that gap nice and early. While Lars is still stuck behind Jensen, who is obviously on the much more weird medium tyres and probably coming towards the end of their peak really right now for Cohen. He's still in this fight. He's fallen back a little bit, but for also Simon as well has fallen back a lot and could be falling into the clutches perhaps of the AlphaTauri behind him of CRG Gamer. But for Jensen, it's all about keeping that P2 now at the moment because he knows it will come to bite back for Will G at the end.
Yeah, definitely. And of course now DRS is activated, so that's good news for Lars. You'll imagine he'll have more grip than Jensen. If he can get ahead of Jensen, how close can he get to Will before those soft tyres start wearing off? He is going to have to do 11 laps on them, I believe. I think it might actually be 12. I'm sure he came in at the end of lap 16. That is going to be a big ask. Rudy gets a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and I think it was always inevitable what was going to follow that. He is out of this race. It's been a bit of a disaster for the Red Bull team. Here we are on board with Gamer. It looks like Simon is struggling slightly. Don't know whether he picked up a slight bit of front wing damage in that contact earlier on with Nico, but he's just, I think, at the crucial moment dropped outside of that magical 1 second window, and this should be a very straightforward pass. If that is the case, then for CRG Gamer, DRS, well, it gets it before we even get to the DRS straight. And there we go, Gamer is now up into 5th place. Lars down the inside of Jensen. He's up into 2nd. He's set after Will LG.
Yep, he'll be going for it now with Lars. He'll be set. He'll set his sights up high on that Haas up in front, and oh, that's not good for Will. He's got himself a penalty, so a race win now is inevitably not going to happen because I can't see around like 6 or 7 drivers really, and there's obviously penalties of course for all of them. Can't see 6 or 7 drivers really dropping out of a 3-second range now, with obviously Will at disadvantage with the soft tyres. So for Lars, he's just got to really hang on at the moment. Doesn't really need to battle too much, and obviously Cohen as well. He needs to get past Jensen very, very quickly, and it all depends on where he was going to do it. 1064's about it, but yeah, he's just going to sit behind for now, but he mustn't stay behind Jensen for too long, because Lars now has the freedom to get away.
Yeah, definitely feinted a move there into turn number 6, but I always think if you're going to do that, you've kind of got to just go for it, because now Jensen's always going to have that in the back of his mind if he saw that happen and think, yeah, maybe he's going to go for it out of that corner. Maybe I need to save a tiny bit more ERS coming through 3 and 4 to try and just shield that at the moment. Jensen's burned through his ERS though, since the safety car. When you consider only on what, our 4th hot lap afterwards, he's already down at 45%. Cohen has a tiny bit more. Will has he's net 1.5 seconds behind when you consider the penalties at the moment, and it is going to be a big ask for him to get that margin above Lars. Might still have a slight chance of getting onto the podium here. We'll have to see how things are going. It is a DRS train behind Lars from 2nd to 7th place, as Cohen again just thinks about going for a move. Can't get quite close enough this time around. Things just seem to be petering out ever so slightly. Kryptonite very late on the brakes again into the hairpin. Both front tyres locked up. Thankfully, he was far enough behind Line Violet to avoid any contact. It's not been the race for the AlphaTauri team. Well, not been the race that Kryptonite's wanted, and you've got to wonder where Gamer would be if he hadn't have had that half spin earlier on. But here we are then, back towards 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Cohen all over the back of Jensen. He'll have so much more grip than the Alpine at this moment in time. Is he going to be able to get the move done into turn 6?
He's definitely going to be considering about it now. He's using all his overtake there to look for it, and look, here we go, desperate lunge. Nope, he's just going to sit behind again. He's probably just putting the pressure on Jensen. Lars, surprisingly in my opinion, is not getting away from that Alpine though at the moment. He's rather sticking at a 5-10 distance, as there goes Jensen. Luckily the ghosted system helps Cohen out. Well, it kind of helps Cohen out. Doesn't really help him out, because look who's behind him. It's the AlphaTauri or CRG Gamer. He will have DRS, and at the moment Cohen wouldn't. So although helping get past one car, it's put him in the clutches of another. So for Cohen, it's a lose and a win situation for him. So he's now got some defending to do, unless of course Gamer has a similar sort of incident, which he doesn't. So Gamer now will be really bowing down upon that Aston Martin, as here he comes in, DRS open, ERS, he's using all of it. Cohen will have to go defensive here, and look at this, Gamer to the outside. Is that a bit too much from Cohen there? A bit too much of a squeeze, I'm not too sure. Gamer's still there though on the inside. He may have to yield here, surely he's not going to send it into this corner. Oh, two don't really go into a bet there, but he's kept it going, has Gamer. That's brilliant driving from him and from Cohen as well, just being able to make sure that it's not a plane crash into that corner. But yeah, maybe a little bit questionable squeeze in there from Cohen onto the grass, maybe a bit too much, but those two luckily do survive. For Lars, it's an absolute dream for him. He's about 2 seconds clear now of the, well, 1.5 seconds clear of them, and he's also back into the DRS of Will G, so these medium tyres are now starting to come in.
Yeah, quite a scrappy lap indeed there from Cohen. I'd love to see an on board of when Jensen spun, because he was right behind the Alpine, and I wonder if Jensen, not accusing him, I just wonder if there was a slight little tap, Jensen would have a lot less speed at that part of the circuit, and maybe if he's had to lift off, it has just caught Cohen out ever so slightly. But yeah, the big winners from all that battling that Cohen has been doing with Gamer and Jensen are Lars and Will LG as well. If we get the gap to the leader at this moment in time, he'd only drop down to 4th place, and if we see Cohen and Gamer do a bit more battling, he could definitely still get himself onto the podium here. We'll see if Cohen's got anything left to fight with. He's not got a lot of ERS, he's not got any DRS. I don't think he's got a lot of hope of holding on to that position. Gamer's a long way back though. He's going to have to be sending this quite early on, but it is such a long straight. The power of the slipstream, the power of the DRS, and there we go. Absolutely nothing the Aston Martin driver can do. Gamer, after that half spin earlier on, after nearly another half spin just a lap ago, has got himself up into 3rd place with 5 laps remaining. Jensen still fighting on, not giving up. Doesn't look like he's doing too bad at the moment, as him, Andrea and Nico are getting very close together. Nico gets ahead of Andrea as well, so he's lost 2 spaces in the place of 2 corners. That's Jensen and Nico up into 6th and 7th position. Back towards the lead though. Will is really starting to hold these drivers up now, and that's allowed Gamer and Cohen to get right back into things, and Simon's still not on the back of these as well.
Yeah, for Lars now, really, he needs to get past Will. I think they've had a little bit of a moment somewhere as well, um, maybe which have caught them out and caused Gamer and Cohen to come back into this frame, and Simon as well. Let's not forget Simon, who's just stuck onto the back, really. He's kind of just still there at the moment, but when you're on the back of the train, though, it's not exactly easy to make moves done. But Will G really struggling now with those soft tires. They are now starting to go, while Lars's mediums are still really in their optimum prime at the moment. But let's see what he can do, because for Gamer, this is actually pretty good opportunity, because if he can slide past Will G, well, like Lars would most likely this lap, then for Gamer, it could be really a golden opportunity with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, I think Lars is hoping that Will doesn't put up too much of a fight for him, but a bit more of a fight for Gamer. There you go, ERS-like fashion on the back of Will LG's car. He goes to the inside. There's nothing he'll be able to do there. There goes Lars straight through, and in the end, Will absolutely gets out of the way for Gamer and Cohen there. I think both of them are going to go in. I'm not sure if Will's old enough to drink a pint. Maybe a pint of Pepsi, perhaps. But there we go. Will down into 4th place. He's going to lose out to Simon as well. And that just makes this race take on another twist. Lars is leading, but he's got to hold off Gamer, who's showing so much pace at the moment. Hasn't got a lot of ERS, though, with 3 laps to go. Who is going to take the victory here? Runs a bit wide, coming through turn number 1 and 2. Might give him a better run into 3 and 4. Will Lars take the victory? Can Gamer make it 3 in a row? Could we even see Cohen and perhaps Simon sneak their way onto the top step?
Well, Gamer now is in trouble here for Cohen. He's got to look around the outside. There was Cohen. Good defensive from Gamer there. And again, he kind of just shows Cohen the same thing Cohen showed him. But here he comes, though. The switchback doesn't hurt the Aston Martin at all. He's come right back at him. They're now side by side through turn 7. Usually it's quite tricky to go side by side through there. Gamer just about keeps his lead, but a little bit of a scare out the exit of the corner, and this is not the environment to have those sort of scares out the exits of corners, because we know how daunting, how much a position can be lost here. Kryptonite has gone round again. He's got himself a 3-second penalty with that to put more damage, so it doesn't look like points are on the agenda for that AlphaTauri anyway. But for Gamer, for Cohen, he hasn't really got a very good exit, as Gamer has got away from him, but Gamer has to close that gap to Lars now. Lars, though, he's just going to be sitting there for now, praying that he has got an opportunity to win this race with 2 laps to go. We all know what the strategy is now. Sit and wait for 1 more lap, and then the last lap, go for it, send it, full send. Will be for the AlphaTauri, and for Cohen, he needs to catch up to these guys. You can see how much he's trying to close in. He's really raking the wheel, trying not to spin the car. But, you know, more mistakes and everything will cost him big time.
Yeah, and this is crucial, really, for the championship as well. It is only early days, of course, but if Lars takes the victory here with Gamer in second, the gap will be 13 points between the two. If Gamer takes the victory with Lars in second, it'll double and an extra 1. 27 points after 3 races would be an absolutely colossal gap, so Lars needs to do what he can to defend this position. He's got a tiny bit more of ERS than Gamer at the moment. Is that going to be enough to negate the advantage on the DRS, which is going to be available for these drivers on 3 more occasions? Back straight this time, pit straight next time, and the back straight on the final lap of this race. Cohen's got onto the back of Gamer. Again, still trying to fight for this position. Simon's in 4th. It's been a pretty decent race for him, to be perfectly honest. That first stint definitely helped him. Nico now on the back of Will. Those tyres are absolutely ruined. Nico's going to get ahead of him. Jensen and Andrea as well. And there's a slight chance, if Will starts struggling here, there's a very slight chance he might end up with no points whatsoever, which would be incredibly harsh. As here we go back towards the leaders. Gamer is closing up to the back of Lars. Is he close enough to do anything, though, into the hairpin?
If he'll go for a move here or not, because he knows he'll be disadvantaged. However, he believes he's got the tyres to make it. Of course, here we go then. Gamer around the corner. Lars has an ERS advantage. He now has the DRS advantage slightly. So for Gamer here, it could be a kind of interesting game here. He's got to really push these tyres out right to the end now for Lars. If Lars sticks very close to him, then this should be Lars's victory. And if he doesn't win this race now for Lars, it could be a slight tad embarrassing in a way, because he's now got the prime position if he just sticks to the back of that AlphaTauri.
Yeah, he's got 20% more VRS, so it's definitely a fantastic opportunity. Will comes into the pits. I can't see any puncture on this car, but he does retire from the session. I think those tyres taken towards the end might have just been too much, but he could definitely have had a say in the result of this race here. That holding up of Lars might have just helped Gamer take the victory here. Still, though, half a lap to go. Lars losing it slightly coming out of turn number 6. He's got about 10% more ERS now. He's definitely used some coming down towards turn 6, and I don't get the point of doing that. If that is what he's done, I don't see why you would go for that at this moment in time. Surely you want to save it all for the pitch, for the back straight, to try and get as close to possible as Gamer, who might just be far enough ahead here to take the victory. Lars has gone deep into 11 and 12, and I think Gamer could just be able to hold on here. How powerful is the DRS? How much DRS have you got? Who's got the best straight line speed straight away? Gamer is breaking the toe, and I think he might just be able to hold on here. Lars, sorry, he's closing, but he's not going to be close enough, surely. He's not going to be able to do it going into the final corner, and it looks like it is going to be 3 out of 3 for CRG Gamer. He gets a better exit coming out of the penultimate corner, round to the final corner. He was nearly all the way round on lap number 2 of this race, and it is Gamer who takes the victory here in China. Lars misses out by 74 thousandths of a second. It's a podium on debut for Cohen. Simon gets his best finish of the season, as does Jensen. Nico, Suku, Andrea, Marcus Towler, and Line Violet round out the point scorers. Kryptonite will be the final finisher, and they're bookending the standings here today. An Alpha Tauri in last place, and as we've become very used to, an Alpha Tauri in first. It's a victory for Gamer.
Wow. Well, it's 3 from 3 now for Gamer, so, you know, in terms of someone staking their claim in this championship fight, he probably staked it a long time ago, didn't he? You know, whether it was luck or whether it was performance, he just seems to be on top of it right now. He seems to be knowing what he's doing, and, you know, like I said, for Lars at the start of the lap, it would have been a bit embarrassing if he didn't win this race, considering he had that DRS advantage at the end. And well, I think obviously the dirty air at that final corner was a lot worse than what I would have thought it was, because he did drop about 2 steps behind Gamer there, coming out the exit of that corner. But yeah, you know, Gamer, of course, brilliant strategy from him today there to get the move done nice and early, and to realise how much that dirty air will affect your car on the final lap. And well, because Lars hadn't really experienced that, he hadn't really experienced that much in the race, then, you know, perhaps it put him back a little bit. But yeah, for Gamer, it's another victory. It's 3 from 3, and, you know, I don't know what could stop this man at the moment.
Yeah, even drifting your way around turn 1 doesn't seem to be enough to stop him. He managed to recover from that absolutely fantastically. Gamer takes the win, Lars in second, Kuhn takes third, Simon, big winner under that safety car period, even though he didn't look like he had the pace after it came on that set of medium. Still does well to finish 4th. Jensen gets his first points of the season. Who knows what could have happened with that strategy if it wasn't for the safety car, and if it wasn't for that spin as well. Nico is 6th, Suku 7th, Andrea, Marcus Towler, Line Violet round out the point scorers. Kryptonite was the final person to cross the line in 11th. Will was classified in 12th. Rudy, Enzo, Sussy, and Danspreen were the retirements. So much happening towards the end of that race. I don't think we've ever really expected that Gamer would be able to get it. Just that half a lap, Lars spent stuck behind Will LG, just really cost him in the end, because that allowed Gamer to get within his DRS range. And as soon as he was in second place, as soon as he had that free run at Lars, he took advantage and then held it on the final lap.
Yeah, it was obviously very good driving from Gamer. Good tactics as well, perhaps from Will G there, holding them up. But we're not going to talk about controversial things, because we're all here to race at the end of the day, and, you know, we can have these sort of things. But for Lars and everything, he'll be happy with the podium, I reckon, for P2. He didn't seem any sort of disgruntled sort of moments. He didn't seem to be too phased by what had happened and everything for his race. But obviously for him, a P2 is happy, keeps him up in the lead of this, well, not in the lead, but near the lead of this championship. And for Cohen, what a debut for him, a pole position and a P3. For him, he'll take that. He will be, though, similar to Lars, a little bit gutted perhaps, because there was an opportunity to potentially take a victory here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to wait and hear from the different drivers, but we are going to bring in the man who, well, as I said to him in the Discord, he knows the routine by now. I don't need to tell him to join the waiting room, because he spent so much of his Friday nights recently in that waiting room. It is CRG Gamer, Another victory from yourself. I can't imagine, as you were drifting around turn 1, though, that you expected to be on the top step of the podium.
Yeah, it was a bit more of a challenge, I won't lie. I can't believe that I came out on top. To be honest, I couldn't even recall what happened in that race. There was so much chaos. Yeah, I mean, that mistake at turn one, lost a load of positions, and then I don't think my pace was overly quick, if I'm honest, but I took the opportunities when they came, and yeah, just managed to sneak it at the end. So yeah, crazy, and yeah.
Yeah,
Lost for words.
tell us about what happened with that mistake. It looked on stream as if it was just you touching the curb ever so slightly. Was that the case?
Yeah. It's as you know, if you touch the curb very, very slightly, it unsettles the car massively. So yeah, it was a mistake at that point. But I was very surprised it didn't go fully round, if I'm honest. So that was a bonus. Just managed to keep it slightly pointing in the right direction at least. So otherwise, I think it would have definitely been over. But yeah, that was what it was.
Sam, do you have any questions for Sam?
That's quite convenient, isn't it? But yeah, I do have one. You've been battling with Cohen pretty much throughout the whole race, in that second stint particularly. And there was points where things may have got a bit too far on the edge, where you were just squeezing each other a bit too much. Was that a little bit frustrating for yourself, perhaps, or was it just really like, did you really enjoy it because it was just hard racing, really?
I think from the start of the second stint, it became pretty apparent that Cohen didn't want to pass Lars, and they were sort of working together. So obviously, if I'm stuck in third place in the train, it's extremely difficult to overtake. And I was quite concerned that the alternate strategy, because the pace was quite slow, I thought they'd have a very good chance of catching us at the end. So I really wanted to make progress, and I knew they were sort of working together. So yeah, I had to try what I could. But no, it was a bit frustrating at the time, of course. But you know, at the end of the day, it's hard racing. None of us lost or got damaged from it. So yeah, it was fine from where I'm stood, and just makes it a bit more intense.
Yeah, well, of course, congratulations on another victory, of course, the third one of the season. And right now you seem a bit unstoppable. So yeah, congratulations for tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, gamer, on another fantastic victory, the closest victory we've seen all season, and I think we're gonna have to go some to beat that. We are going to talk now to the man who finished in second place, and that is Lars. His first race in WOR for the WOR team. So close to getting your first victory of the season. I'm guessing main emotion at the moment is just gutted that you couldn't quite hold on to take the win.
Yeah, exactly. It was. I'm really gutted that I haven't won the race, but yeah, a great race from Gamer. He had really good pace the whole race. Yeah, really happy with P2, another P2.
Yeah, we saw you come into the pits once for safety car did. All the drivers on the hard tyres did come into the pits. I think it was just Jensen who stayed out. Did it ever cross your mind to stay out there on the hard tyres, or did you just know they'd be struggled too much on the restart against everyone on the fresh tyres?
Yeah, I knew I needed to go to the mediums because Will G and Jensen stayed out on fresh mediums and new fresh softs. So yeah, I needed to go.
Yeah, certainly. Good job from yourself. Sam, do you have any questions?
Not really any. Well, actually, there is one question, of course. I want to talk about the whole incident with well, not incident really, but with Will, of course, because he was in front of you. Was there a little bit of like argy-bargy, perhaps, because it took you a little while to get by, and there was a certain time, of course. I think it was at the hairpin, just towards the penultimate corner, where there seems to be a lot of time loss. Was there a little bit of problems just getting by, or was it just aggressiveness driving, just defending from Will?
Yeah, it was a really bit annoying from Will G to defend me really hard, but yeah, it is what it is. Koen and me did the same to Gamer a bit, but yeah, really happy to extend the P2 in the championship.
That's good. Okay, so yeah, congratulations on P2, of course, as well. Well-driven race, and yeah, you're sure to be in the podium again, I would have reckoned. So yeah, well done.
Cheers.
Yeah, congratulations, Lars. Solidifying second place in the championship with second place in the race, and someone who made his debut in WOR tonight and got pole position. Couldn't quite hold on to the win was Shazoo Cohen. Fantastic job from yourself. Another driver who made a mistake in this race, and I imagine when you had that near spin at the hairpin, you must have thought your chances of maybe even getting on the podium could have been over.
Yeah, exactly. The race was pretty good. I haven't done many league races this game, but like you said, the spin, when I spun, I broke way too late, and I thought that was pretty much my podium chance over, but I never really gave up, and then just started to come back to Lars and then to the DRS, and it was a really close battle with the gamer as well. He really pushed me through most of the corners, but I mean, in my opinion, it was fair and hard racing, so I really enjoyed the race.
Yeah, tell me, were you say you haven't done a lot of league racing. You've come in here as a reserve. Were you really expecting to get pole position and get a podium? What were your expectations going into this race?
I didn't really have a lot of expectations. I just went in and see how it went. Yeah, I just tried to have a lot of fun and just get back into the groove of league racing, and it went pretty well today. Obviously, there's still some things to learn, but yeah, it's fine and will come over time.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Sam, do you have any questions for our third place finisher?
Yeah, is there any regrets perhaps? Because obviously, I think you've said it, Gamer said it as well earlier, that you and Lars are kind of working together to get that 1-2. Is there perhaps any regrets that you didn't overtake Lars, since you know that probably could have got you the victory tonight? Is there any regrets on that?
In the end, I think it is, but I tried to stay behind Lars because I had barely any rest for the second stint, as I got held up in the pits and the spin, so I used a lot of rest to catch up. So in the end, I should have passed him, but I didn't really know it was going to be a safety car, and I really enjoyed the race, and I'm happy with my P3.
Okay, well, yeah, of course, congratulations for that P3 as well, and again, for Gamer and Lars, congratulations to them on P2 and P1. But yeah, congratulations, Cohen, on your P3 tonight, and you raced very well, like the rest of them did.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, congratulations, Cohen. First race, first podium. Can't do much better than that. And that is nearly it then for this stream. A fascinating Chinese Grand Prix. So much stuff happened, as Gamer said. A lot happened that he can't even remember it. And somehow it ends with that same familiar result. He is looking, in the race, unstoppable. Let's not forget, he's not got a pole position so far this season.
I've just remembered that he hasn't got a pole position. That's mental, isn't it? That just shows, the experience has really given him. We talk about people. I was talking to someone last night. I can't remember who it was, but I talked about the comparison of George Russell and Lewis Hamilton next season. Someone's coming into Mercedes for their first season. Well, Lewis has that 7-year experience with Mercedes, for example, and it's a similar sort of scenario here and everything. Cohen, of course, has only really done 2 league races on this game, and then you've got Lars, who's kind of in the middle. He's done a lot of league races, but hasn't really experienced much battling with Gamer. And, Gamer's been in the top tiers. He's been battling guys who've been and gone to esports, have come and gone and everything. And he's still a top tier driver. So, you have some mixed free drivers there in terms of, where they're at this current stage of the game, or their careers, I suppose, in making to esports. And for Gamer, of course, that consistency has obviously got to him now, because he's that experienced. He knows how to drive. He's been in so many different scenarios in the race, and that's really aided him, I think, tonight, and probably will do in future as well, as we've seen this season, as he continues to take some victories.
Yeah, took the victory, and I don't think that'll be the only time we see him won't be the last time, I should say, standing on the top step of the podium. He's looking very good indeed. Will it be next week at the Canadian Grand Prix? Same time, same place for the PS tiers. Friday at 8 PM for the top 2 tiers on the PlayStation. There's plenty more WOR action, though, before we get around to that. On the Monday, there is the top tier from the Xbox. You've got top tier PC action on Sunday. That is actually coming from Silverstone, all of the PC tiers. And then you've got lower tier action, PlayStation on Monday, then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from the rest of the Xbox tiers. Thank you to Sam for joining me in the commentary box. Thank you to Gamer, Lars, and Cohen, alongside all the drivers, for providing an absolutely scintillating race in Shanghai, and for joining us in the commentary box for the interviews. Thank you so much, everyone at home, for watching, and we will see you in a week's time for the Canadian Grand Prix. But from myself and Sam, enjoy the rest of your evening, enjoy your weekend, and goodbye.